Hi there, it's Mr. Graham again, and in this video we're going to look at rounding to the nearest 100. Now we've got our value, our number in black on the screen, and underneath in red you can see that we're being asked to round to the nearest 100. Now the first thing I want to do is to identify the number I'm working with. Does it have a decimal place? No. That tells me that my last digit is my units. I can put in my tens, my hundreds, my thousands, and my tens of thousands. Let's put in the comma, 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digits, comma, 1 digit, 2 digit, no further commas needed. I now know that my number is 47,072. Now, we're going to look at the two methods that we looked at in the previous video. If you've not watched the previous video, it's worthwhile watching the previous video, which is all about rounding to the nearest 10. So, method number one, the traditional method. Because we're being asked to round to the nearest 100, we would identify the hundreds column. Let's put a big circle around it. So we've identified the hundreds column, and because we're rounding to the nearest 100, we now look at the column that comes after it, which is the tens column in this case. Now, as in the previous video, if the digit in the column that comes after the column we've circled, so if the digit in the tens column in this example ends in a 0 or a 1 or 2 or a 3 or a 4, we round down, and if the digit that comes afterwards ends in a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8 or a 9, we round up. So we can see very clearly that we've identified the hundreds column. We now look at the column that comes after it, the tens column. We've got a 7 in the tens column, and a 7 means we round up. That means that our 100 is going to be rounded up. Let me just shrink the screen. There we go. Our hundreds column is going to be rounded up. So in my hundreds column, let me just put my columns in. So in my hundreds column, I'm going to have a 1 instead of a 0 this time. And because we're rounding to the nearest 100, the nearest multiple of hundreds, any number that ends in 100 has 2 zeros at the end. So we're going to put our placeholding zeros in, and we need to remember that our 47,000 stays as 47,000. So to the nearest 100, we've got an answer of 47,100. Now, let's have a look at the alternative method. We'll just copy the number down, 47,072, 47,072. We'll put our place value columns back up above. Great, we'll put our comma in. Now, to the nearest 100, shall we write it down just for clarity again? Same question, we'll get the same answer. Now, because we're rounding to the nearest 100, in this second method, we identify the hundreds column, and we circle the hundreds column and everything that comes afterwards. So the hundreds and everything that comes afterwards. Now, we ask ourselves, let's draw a number line. We ask ourselves, which hundreds does 72 come in between? Well, it becomes in between 0 and 100. But we need to remember that it's not just 0 and 100, it's 47,000. 47,000 and 47,100. Okay, there we go. We now need to add our middle value. What's exactly halfway between 47,000 and 47,100? It is, of course, well, what's halfway between 0 and 100? It is 50, isn't it? Halfway between 0 and 100 is 50. So it's 47,050. Our next step is to put our number 47,072 onto our number line. So where does 47,072 come on our number line? It comes after 47,050. In fact, it's almost halfway between 47,050 and 47,100. Almost exactly halfway, not quite, almost. So I'm going to pop it in just before halfway, somewhere around there. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's roughly the right area. And we'll pop it in there. Now, when we're rounding to the nearest hundred, you'll see from the number line very clearly that visually we're going to round up, because 47,072 is much closer to 47,100 than it is to 47,000. And that's why I like the number line technique, because it shows 4 or 5 different areas of maths and it shows your understanding of that. Is it as quick? Definitely not. Definitely not as quick. But it shows a really good understanding of maths compared to the first method that I've popped back onto the screen now. Now, it doesn't matter which method you find easiest or best, whatever works best for you is the sensible one to do. This first method that's back on the screen is definitely the quicker, and if it's comfortable for you, I would advise you to use it. If you don't quite understand why we round up or down, then perhaps this number line method with a bit of practice will be of some help to you. So this is this is the end of the video for rounding to the nearest hundred. I hope this has been quite helpful for you. Thanks for watching.